Good morning and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. We are broadcasting live from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey, which I think it can officially be called beautiful today. And we are doing so via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit, Talk Radio and TV today. This is your business diva and host, Melanie Collette. Also known as the Diva of Dollars and Cents. I'm trying that out. A friend of mine suggested that to me, and I kind of like it. So, so I'm kind of using it. Good morning to you all, and happy Friday. It is Friday. I'm so happy. Even though, like, I don't do a 9 to 5. For some reason, I'm like all happy when it's Friday. I think it's all the years and years of that regimented schedule, but Friday technically means nothing to me where work is concerned. Anywho, the guest that we're going to have with us this morning is the Republican candidate for Philadelphia District Attorney, Grossman. So I'm very happy to have her, being an original Philadelphia. I'm a Philadelphia native. I actually didn't move to Cape May County until I was 10. So with us this morning, we're going to talk about it's something I don't really get into too often, but I'm so glad I have her here today to talk about it, which is how George Soros is not only causing chaos but costing you money. And who better to talk about that than someone who has been involved in the law for many years. I can't wait to introduce her to you. And like I said, she's the Republican candidate for district attorney in Philadelphia. And as we know, Philly not doing, I'm pretty sure it's been national news, Philly not doing real well with their district attorneys. It's time we got somebody in office who has some integrity and maybe isn't a criminal. Just a thought. Anywho, so your 5 minutes of personal finance for today are 5 financial terms you should know. And I'm considering, you guys let me know what you think about this, doing like a 5 financial terms Friday, and doing this every Friday, because there are, I feel, financial terms that are kind of bounced around on the news and things like that, and people don't really people don't really fully know what those words are. And, you know, a lot of times we don't admit it, and sometimes we don't take time to Google it, quite frankly. So a lot of misinformation out there. And sometimes the way the media presents misinformation is just in the context in which they use it. And so part of what I like to do here at Money Talk with Melanie is informational. Even though I'm a recovering public school teacher, I still have that teaching bug. And so whenever I have the opportunity to do so, I'm there. So I'm thinking that Friday is going to be our 5 financial terms you should know. There are tons. So today will be our first 5 financial terms that you should know. Now, before we move on, of course, I need to do a bit of housekeeping. I want to thank my sponsors, the Tax Mama, aka Eva Rosenberg. She, if you go to her website, taxmama.com, that's Tax Mama with 1 M. She first of all, there's a wealth of information on her website, and she will answer your tax questions for free. Further, she has 2, not 1, but 2 award-winning books that you can purchase via her website. One is called Deduct Everything, and the other one is called Small Business Taxes Made Easy. So you definitely want to check out her website. And another sponsor I want to give a shout out to, who I was going to try to have on the show next week, and he is vacationing. And when you listen to his commercial, which you'll hear during the first break, you'll hear that he has been on 6 vacations this year. So when I have him on after September 5th, when he returns, I am going to ask him if this is his 7th. But the reason he's able to do that is because of the very thing that he teaches from his website and his business. His name is David Barnett. The website is businessbuyeradvantage.com, where he teaches people. There are several free videos there, but he actually teaches people how to buy and sell businesses, and you would be surprised at the strategies that you can use where it doesn't cost as much as you would think to do that. It's really all about strategy, and I can't wait to have him back on the show to talk to him about that in a couple of weeks. He also has 2 books on his website that are for purchase. 21 Stupid Things People Do When Trying to Buy a Business. Learn how to avoid these awful novice mistakes. And the other one is called Franchise Warnings, What You Really Need to Know Before You Buy. And we hear, especially those of us, nerds who listen to the news all the time, hear these, these offers to buy franchises. And, how do you determine, what's a good deal and what isn't? Well, David Barnett and his people at businessbuyeradvantage.com can help you with that very thing. So be sure to hit up both of those websites, check them out. Now, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, on Monday, I was on Sirius XM, again, Sirius Patriot 125, my second home, which I love doing that show. I hosted on Monday night, so you can get that on demand. There were 3 guest interviews and several call-ins, and I may or may not have had to school a liberal who dared. Well, listen, it's fine. Like, I'm all about, respectful conversation. But when you accuse me as a conservative of not wanting to talk to you because you're conservative, like I'm scared, clearly you don't know me. Clearly you've never been on any of my social media. Speaking of which, if you go to @MoneyTalkMel or @MoneyTalkMel on Twitter, or @MoneyTalkWithMelanie on Facebook, you can follow my social media and you can find out who is going to be on the show in advance and what I'm going to be talking about for the 5 minutes of personal finance and things like that. So you definitely want to follow me on those mediums. I'm actually everywhere, like seriously. YouTube, Pinterest, Money Talk with Melanie, you'll find it. Google Plus, I'm there. You'll find it. Trying to think what Tumblr, I'm there. Now, one of the millennials are like, but how come you're not on Reddit? I'm like, really, dude? Like, you're so soon to be on Reddit. soon as I catch up, soon to be on Reddit. If you'd like to email me about anything, tell me that I look lovely in pink today. I really don't. Too many compliments. No such thing. You can email me at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com. Seriously, if you'd like to suggest a guest or suggest a topic for the 5 minutes of personal finance, I'm always welcoming those suggestions. So you can email me at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com. Now, for the Money Talk News Report, I feel like I'm always talking about Amazon, but that's because there's Amazon. I mean, it's Amazon. So Amazon, as you all I think know, as most people know, bought Whole Foods. Yay! Well, yay for those of you who live in civilization and have a Whole Foods near you. I don't. And I know, don't whine because I live at the beach, but still, there are some disadvantages of living at the beach, especially when, like I mentioned earlier, I am I'm an original Philadelphian. I'm originally from Philly. It's still very difficult to get used to. I'm telling you, like not having stuff near me. It's so weird. But anyway, so that's just something. So they bought them out, and Whole Foods nickname is Whole Paycheck, and so Amazon is going to be offering discounts for Prime members, of which I am one. So I'm definitely excited about that. If you have Amazon Prime and you shop at Whole Foods, you'll be getting a discount very soon. This is according to CNBC. So go figure. Also, in the housing market, apparently now there are these standards that that you're supposed to spend. Like when I taught financial literacy, I would teach my, oh, that's my guest coming up via Zoom. I'm going to talk to her in 1 second. That is the one and only Beth Grossman. Excited about that. But what I was saying was that housing, you know, when you teach budgeting, you teach that this is what you should be spending on this. This is what you should be spending on that. Generally speaking, we should be spending about 30% of our budget on housing. And apparently, Americans are actually spending somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% on housing. So that is a cause for concern, that we're overspending on housing like that. So I'm not quite sure what's up with that, but it's just something to think about, something for you to know. So that is your Money Talk news reports, and we are going to be back in a few moments with Beth Grossman.
Aristotle's law of identity clearly states that every person, place, or thing is clearly defined by what it is. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, and that if he wants corn, he plants corn seeds, and that pumpkin seeds grow into pumpkins, just as apple seeds grow into apples. When God created the animals, he made kind after kind, such as cows, fish, horses, etc. Horses know what they are, and they carry out their lives as horses. The same holds true for both male and female humans. Both are equal, but uniquely different. So when I read reports about human adults becoming confused about what they are and forcing that confusion upon little children, I am convinced this is part of a massive effort to undermine society by assisting others who are seeking to convince society to do away with traditional families consisting of father, mother, boy, and girl children, and perhaps a family dog, which has been a stable, reliable source of living and cohesively maintaining strong and stable societies. If America puts asunder what God put together, then America will unravel into utter destruction. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook. Ron Edwards, Liberty.
Like taxes, body. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay different your deductible expenses with better rates. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Start deducting today. Visit TaxMama.com. TaxMama.com. That's TaxMama with 1M.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy small and medium-sized businesses in 2008. This year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses.
And we are back. And here's the thing, guys. If you're not watching me streaming live on YouTube, you totally missed me dancing during a break. So just saying. Actually, I wouldn't really say you missed it. So, as promised, I have with me this morning Ms. Beth Grossman, who is the Republican candidate come on, Melanie, for district attorney. It's about time that we restore some integrity in Philly in the district attorney's office. That is for sure. A little bit about Beth. She's a 4th-generation Philadelphian who was born in the far northeast Philly. Her father owned 2 candy stores. Oh, I'm already your BFF. In Kensington and Albany sections of the city. Her mom was an elementary school teacher in the Philadelphia School District. God bless her. Beth and her family moved to Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania, where she graduated from Lower Moreland High School in 1986. She then earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Penn State, at main campus. That is important, too. Like, people don't understand if you, unless you live in the area, don't understand how important it is to say main campus as opposed to Altoona. I'm just saying, think like things only Philly people would get. Wanting to live and pursue a legal career in Philly, Beth attended and received her law degree from James E. Beasley School of Law in 1993. I almost said 33. That would not have been good. While a law student, Beth interned in the criminal division of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania and the Philly District Attorney's Office, where she began as full-time assistant district attorney in September 1993. She served in the trial, juvenile law, investigations, and narcotics division of the office. And her experience includes trying hundreds of criminal cases, defending the district attorney's office in the employment and civil rights cases in federal court, and investigating and prosecuting municipal corruption. Yes. From February 2005 through January 2007, she was assistant chief of the municipal court and was responsible for training new prosecutors. I'm gonna stop there and let you, Ms. Beth Grossman, because I don't want to put my audience to sleep reading all your credentials. Is there anything else that you want my audience to know before we move on to talking about the evil that is George Soros?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be here, and hi to your viewers. The only thing I will add is that I also was chief of a unit in the district attorney's office where I really found my passion, and it was called the Public Nuisance Task Force Unit, where my DAs and myself engaged with communities all throughout the city, working on quality of life and public nuisance issues, whether it was drug houses, drug business, houses of prostitution, brothels, speakeasies, dangerous buildings. So I really got to know folks all throughout the city and to be able to help solve things that were affecting their neighborhoods.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you so much for adding that. By the way, like, Beth made me step up my game today because I kind of knew she was going to be all glammed out. It looked fantastic. Video, step my game up a little bit this morning. But so let's talk a little bit. First of all, let's talk about why you're running for district attorney in the city of brotherly love, and then we'll move on to talking about, like I said, the evil that is George Soros.
Sure. Well, just to let folks know that all my life I was a Democrat. And then in 2013, when a lot of Philadelphia public officials began getting investigated for political official corruption, I'd had it. I thought, you know what, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a resident, and I'm also a public servant who took her oath of office very, very seriously. And we've had the Democratic Party machine in Philadelphia has been in control. Created a political imbalance in the city. So I switched parties, and I must note that since 2013, we have had 12 judges, over half a dozen state representatives, the United States congressman, the state attorney general, as well as the district attorney for whom I worked, all pleaded guilty or convicted of corruption charges, and they were all Democrats. So the people of Philadelphia are not So to run against Seth Williams, the former district attorney, I thought it would be Beth, not Seth. And that's when I entered, because I thought we need to restore political balance and properly prosecute public officials. And since I announced in January of 2017, Seth Williams, unfortunately, was sadly indicted for corruption charges, pled guilty in July, and is now incarcerated awaiting sentencing in October. So here I am.
That's outstanding. And as someone who, like I said, is originally from Philly, I said that during the opening, which of course you didn't hear because I had not opened up the meeting yet, which would have been helpful, but I apologize for that. But I'm originally from Philly, and to hear that that's going on in that city is really just disappointing and depressing. Philly has a lot of potential, and to hear that the people were being taken advantage of like that is just really sad.
Yeah, it's just so wrong. And Philadelphia, they need strong leaders who care about the people. We levels in the high level unemployment. We're in the middle of a horrific heroin and opioid crisis, where there are treatment centers that people should not be lining their pockets with. And you need a strong leadership, especially anybody who is the highest elected law enforcement official. You have to be held to a high standard when you are a prosecutor. You're dealing with the constitutional rights of those accused of crime. You have to champion the rights of victims and survivors of crime. And you have to earn and maintain the public's trust that you have their interests at heart. It's not that hard, people. You're not supposed to line your pockets.
Really? Is that like a thing? When you're like a law enforcement person, like you're not supposed to like do evil stuff and take advantage of people?
How about that?
Is that a thing? Oh, okay. Maybe they didn't get the memo, like when they were sworn in and stuff. Maybe nobody told them. Maybe that they were just uninformed. And we would be remiss if we didn't point out, and you mentioned it, but I want to make sure that we don't gloss over the fact that all of these people were Democrats, the party of the little guy, the party of taking care of the advantage. They got in those positions of power was completely take advantage of their constituency. And it's honestly a disgrace.
It really is. As I always say, when you're a public servant, it's simple. You serve the public. The public is your employer, and you are accountable to only them and to uphold and abide by the law.
Exactly. And it's really go throughout the office. We're not talking about, and it seems to me like it was just it was corruption. Like
exactly.
All day, every day. And it's ridiculous. It's disappointing, and definitely need to do something about it. So kudos to you for seeing a light, Beth, and coming on over to the right side of the aisle.
Well, thank you. And I'm happy to be here because I want to make change. I want to make positive change.
Absolutely. Indeed. So let's talk a little. Some people, I think, hear his name and are just like, wow, the conservatives talking about George Soros again. But it's, he's actually a really bad guy, and what he's doing with his what seems like unlimited amount of money to just really interrupt democracy and the republic and what's going on in the republic. And not only that, but it's costing us money. So I want you to talk a little bit about what that means, like who he is on a broader scale, and then of course how it affects cities like Philadelphia.
George Soros is a European billionaire who has, vast holdings in countries all throughout the world. He has unlimited resources, and as of late, for the past several years, he has been financing all types of campaigns on far liberal issues, whether it's federal, state, or local elections. And it's almost like because of the vast amount of money at his disposal, he's becoming a puppet master over democracy. And that is a dangerous, dangerous precedent because it disturbs democracy. It takes away individual voters' right of choice. And you're losing the possibility of excellent candidates from becoming victorious and getting put into office.
Exactly. I think the public at large understands that that money can be a driver for elections and things like that. What I don't think is crystal clear just yet to the public at large is how, there is a short list of individuals like George Soros that that's involved in this campaign against conservatism, really against freedom.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And, it's almost like agendas are being bought and sold. And he has all these little pieces, people are essentially his chess pieces or his puppets that he's putting into office. And he has this, far left criminal agenda. Not taking a specificity or a group. Here is an outsider who is financing super PACs that back various candidates. and they have no knowledge or workings of, individual neighborhoods and what they need. And, it's almost like a blanket giant push of an agenda, and every place is different, and you have to take that into account, and that doesn't serve the public well.
It doesn't. Now, I want you to tell the public, tell the audience a bit about what is involved in this agenda as far as criminal justice is concerned, this leftist agenda.
Sure. I mean, very, very far left things, where to completely end mass incarceration, to get rid of our cash bail system, to completely abolish the death penalty. And then various, at various elections, people are suddenly come in, and, whether it's, you hear allegations that George Soros pays protesters to come in, and, it almost creates a very divisive atmosphere where groups who are very anti-police, anti-law enforcement, and it really creates a lot of potentially dangerous situations in cities all throughout the United States, because there's a lot of places where, healing is taking place between law enforcement and the community. We have a wonderful police commissioner in Philadelphia by the name of Richard Ross, who is working very, very hard with community policing, where we need to regain the trust of police so there's more peaceful interaction, which I am all for. Civilians and police really does nothing but, ignite a fire that is not needed.
Indeed. I don't understand, frankly, the theory that it's a good idea to be against the police. Because, okay, so what do you have when you get in trouble then?
Exactly. Look, there always has to be law and order. And in my vast career in the DA's office, listen, I have prosecuted police officers. Whether an officer is on duty or off duty and you break the law, you are going to be prosecuted like anybody else.
You nail their hiney to the wall when that happens. You get them and you make an example of them and you nail their butts.
Of course, and that is appropriate. You cannot have officers commit crimes. You cannot have officers violating people's civil rights. But you know what? Are going to be bad apples. I don't care what it is. But the majority of the men and women on the Philadelphia Police Department go out and do a good job every day. And as of late, they are subject to verbal abuse day in and day out by a lot of protesters, and they do their job every day with dignity and grace and patience. And I have to give them a lot of kudos.
And this to me just has to do with integrity. I find it incredible that these protesters, from somewhere from their pedestal of righteousness, feels as though that because they think the police are against them, that the proper response is to be nasty toward them. Like, where is your integrity? Model the behavior that you want to see if you have integrity. But what you don't do is name call, spit on, and abuse people that you don't even know. You could be doing that to a police officer, model record, but you make you don't discriminate. Like you don't differentiate between individuals and anybody who's wearing a uniform. What would happen in this world if all police officers just said, you know what, have it, be done, go ahead. I
don't even imagine what would happen if they did that, if they had a once in a while country. And what I've noticed campaigning all throughout Philadelphia is everybody has the same goal. Everybody just wants a good level of public safety. I don't care what neighborhood it is. People want their loved ones to be safe, their kids to play outside, their elders to be able to walk to the store or go to church or wherever they choose to worship safely. And that's what they want. And so you have this vast propaganda machine coming in. But I have to tell you, what's been lovely campaigning is that when I go out and I tell people I'm a Republican, the average Philadelphian couldn't be nicer to me. Nobody gives me attitude. People listen to what I have to say, and I have been treated with nothing but respect. And, it really has heartened me because there are such good folk in Philadelphia, and they just want the same thing. And what I'm asking them is like, look, I know how Republicans get painted, and it's lonely being a Republican in Philadelphia.
Tell me about it.
but when people hear about my experience and they understand what I'm about, I've gotten a wonderful reception, not only from independents, from Democrats, Libertarian, Green Party, people who aren't registered with any party, and it is heartening. Because what I have to point out, despite what George Soros is doing or the agenda of my opponent, is that I just lost my train of thought. Just lost my train of thought. But you know what? People just really want to be safe. And this is I know what I want to say. What I realized is this is a political race for a non-political office, because you know what? Crime doesn't care what party you belong to, and neither do I, and neither should any elected prosecutor. It's irrelevant.
And mind you, neither do crime victims.
Exactly.
When you're a victim of a crime, you don't give a rat's rear who comes and is the person who made you a victim. What you want is justice.
Exactly. And you know, if I could just talk about the primary election in Philadelphia, if that's okay, because it goes back to George Soros. So I was the lone Republican wolf, as I like to say, but on the Democratic side, you had 7 candidates. Out of the 7, 5 of them have been former prosecutors in the Philadelphia DA's office, who I knew over the years and had prosecutorial experience. We had one, the other female candidate was a judge who's years, and George Soros backed, who spent his entire career as a criminal defense attorney, has never prosecuted a single case, and has sued the Philadelphia Police Department over 75 times. He dislikes law enforcement. And to him, you know, he has never championed the rights of victims or survivors of crime. You know, you try getting a 4-year-old who has been he's cross-examined a young victim of rape and done that repeatedly. And to him, the victims of crime are those who are accused of crime. Now, I will always submit there can always be changes and improvement in our criminal justice system for more fairness, and I have no issue with that. But the role of a prosecutor is to uphold and execute the laws of Pennsylvania, just the constitutional rights of everybody, never losing sight of championing the rights of victims and neighborhoods themselves. And that is not his agenda. My opponent's agenda seems to just be ending mass incarceration. Role of a prosecutor. You know, I say we have one of the finest public defender's offices in the country. I've worked with them over the years. They are passionate. They care about their victims. Their clients. But we do not need 2 public defender's offices. You know, there always must be balance. Night, day, yin, yang, salt, pepper. And that's the way it has to be. That's society. It's what it calls for.
Indeed. And that's the way it works. I mean, that is the way it is supposed to work. And, you know, I get a lot of heat whenever I bring up what of a fallacy of mass incarceration. For example, you know, you hear the examples of, oh, well, the black man gets so much more time for dealing crack than the white guy does for cocaine because of, you know, the physicality of both drugs. And when I say things like, hey, listen, I don't care about the crack dealer who was poisoning his neighborhood with that mess. I don't care if he gets more time. So what? You want to not be a victim of the unfair criminal justice system? Don't be a criminal. That's my theory.
You know, exactly. And look, when I trained young DAs and prosecutors or, you know, managed another unit, we always looked at the individual defendant, the facts of the case. Is the evidence there? What is his or her record? What is the impact on the victim? You know, I know how I was trained, and I know that I have always upheld the law and done right. And if elected, that's the kind of office I am going to run. But I will always focus on seeking justice and improving our neighborhoods, because deserve that. And, you know, had there been any of the other 6 individuals, had they made it through the primary, that's something where I could have been like, okay, if they won, I'm fine with that. I think Philadelphia is going to turn into a Baltimore, it's going to turn into a Detroit or a Chicago, and it's going to be a free-for-all. Because my opponent, who was backed in the last 3 weeks of his campaign by George Soros super PAC to the tune of $1.6 million. He has his own agenda. He has defended and represented in court Black Lives Matter, Occupy Philadelphia. So I don't necessarily think that he has the right credentials or experience or desire to be what a district attorney position calls for. And this race is really turned into something else. And sometimes I feel like it's David and Goliath versus Goliath, but you know what? I'm proud to be doing this because I am doing this for the right reason. I don't have an agenda. This cannot be a grand social experiment, which is what George Soros is doing throughout the United States.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, your diva of dollars and cents, Melanie Collette, and I am talking to Republican candidate for district attorney in Philadelphia, the lovely Beth Grossman, and we are going to be back on the other side of the break.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Geyers, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos, he'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best Kids Radio. The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe. Hook Reaver, Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
Okay, we are back. You are listening and watching Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and we're speaking with Beth Grossman, who's the Republican candidate for a district attorney in Philly. And the reason why I'm giggling, and you may have heard Beth giggling, Miss Asha, who is always in studio with me, decided it'd be an awesome idea to be in my lap right now. So if you see like a big white fur ball in my lap, if you're watching, that's what it is, moving around. It would be my little puppy dog who likes to hang out with me while I'm broadcasting. Now, normally she'll just lay on the floor and chill, but every now and then she's like, "Hey, Mom, you know what? I know that you're broadcasting on TV, on YouTube, and on Spreaker, and there are thousands of people listening to you. But hey, it's all about me. So lap time."
I love a diva dog, and I will tell you that if elected district attorney, I will absolutely always, because they are beyond the pale.
Like, just abuse a living thing. I don't quite get, but
it really, it's mind blowing. And and I firmly believe in animal rights. They're truly God's gift to us, and their rights need to be acknowledged and respected too.
Absolutely, because I know when I have a bunch of Twitter hate, at the end of the day, my doggy loves me.
I know.
Unconditionally, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the funding, the money that goes in. Like, what kind of dollars are we talking about when we're talking about George Soros money and the involvement?
So it's really in the millions. I know for my opponent during the primary, at least I think it was over $1.4 million was put in through his account through, I think, like independent groups, not directly into his campaign, but through outsiders who came in and volunteered, who were at the polls, as well as for TV ads. Prime time during the Today Show. Very, very good value. Democratic candidates on the primary side who couldn't compete with that. As I said before, 5 of them who had excellent prosecutorial experience. And here we are with a lifelong leftist, defense attorney who suddenly decided, hey, I want to be district attorney. Let me try this on. And, that's like me deciding, you know what, I want to be an air pilot, and let me go down to, United or whatever it is. And hey, let me take a ride. That's not the way it should go. Or somebody said to me in the campaign trail, when something is wrong with your sink, are you going to call an electrician? No.
Exactly. And the difference is you just paying the airline off to say, I know I don't have the qualification, go on ahead anyway. How much is it going to take? A couple $1 million to let me fly the plane? Even though I'm not qualified. So this is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with people who have some very specific leftist agendas, and George Soros is a main financier of these types of agendas, and does the same thing with hired protesters. Whenever there's, for instance, the Charleston, Virginia incident, and things like that, where he finances these people and pays them to protest. And the mainstream media is completely complicit as well, and making it seem like these things are real when and that is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and that's the point here. That's what people need to be very aware of as the midterm elections start to take place. So tell the audience where they can find you and how they can support your campaign.
Sure. People can. Wonderful. People can go to my brand and they can buy t-shirts. Anybody is free to contribute whatever they like, because I don't have my own billionaire. It would certainly be lovely, but I do not. And and just to read and take a look what I'm about, because yes, I am a Republican, but what I tell people is that, look, I am a Philadelphian. I'm a Philadelphian. I'm passionate, and I'm a public servant, and that's the kind office. My only agenda is uphold the law fairly and justly, conduct myself with ethics and integrity and transparency, and to champion all Philadelphians because they need safe neighborhoods.
Amen. And I don't think the previous administration was focused on that at all. They were too busy with their hands in their constituents' pockets. Ridiculous.
It's really true.
So I wish you the best on your campaign. I'll be looking out. Hopefully I'll have you back a couple more times. Yes, that would be fantastic. It was so nice talking to you this morning. You have a fantastic weekend.
You too. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. That was Beth Grossman, ladies and gentlemen. She's the Republican candidate for district attorney in Philadelphia, and we wish her all the best as she tries to break the glass ceiling of Democrats being in charge of the district attorney's office in Philadelphia. We see how that has turned out, but she was a fantastic guest, very informational. That is not, wow. That's clear. Like, I decided to skip it. That was really a bad idea. Anyway, she was really full of fantastic information, and so we're going to keep an eye on her campaign in hopes that she wins her bid to be district attorney in Philadelphia. That being said, it is time now for our 5 minutes of personal finance. Five financial that you. Now, I tried to pick 5 financial terms that were related to each other. It's just the teacher in me. I couldn't help myself. So the 5 financial terms that we're going to discuss are financial planning, net worth, assets, liabilities, and cash flow. So what is cash flow? It's like, oh, I already know what cash flow is, but do you? Okay. So cash flow has to do with the incoming and outgoing money, obviously, right? Now, aren't aware of. Sometimes you have negative cash flow. Sometimes you have positive cash flow. There are, they are specific terms that are used in personal finance. Now, you may not think that you have negative cash flow if you are using credit cards and things like that, and that gets into net worth, which we're going to talk about it in a second. You are higher than your income, or you're spending more than you actually have. So, but for the most part, that means that your bills are higher than what your cash is. That's negative cash flow. If you have positive cash flow, and let's hope we all do, that means you have more money coming in than is going out, and that's always a good thing. Actually, before we do that, let's talk about assets and liabilities. So your assets would be anything that you own. And I don't mean like kind of own, I mean own outright. Like, for example, if you have a car, but you still owe money on it, like you don't have the title, you're financing it, that's not an asset yet. It's actually a liability. And so this is where the whole, like, knowing your financial terms comes in. You may think that you have lots of assets, but if you're counting your car and your house as assets and you don't own them outright, they're actually not assets. They are actually in the liability column unless you have equity in either one of those things. An insurance situation, we can talk about it another time. But an asset is something that you own outright that has value. A liability has to do with what you owe. So conceivably, let's just use a house as an example. A house can be an asset, but if you owe more on it than it's worth, then it's a liability. Hopefully. Anything that you owe will be in your liabilities column. Anything that is an asset that you own outright would be considered an asset. Now, where does your net worth come into play? Well, your net worth, and this is all, if you go to, and I think I talked about this app before, mint.com, and put all your information in there, one of the things that mint.com does is keep track of your net worth. You want to talk about something eye-opening? Just remember, it's not your worth to God. It's just your financial worth. It's not your human worth. It's just your financial worth, your financial net worth. And what your net worth is your total assets minus liabilities, and that equals your net worth, very simply put. So hopefully, let's just say that your assets are $100,000 and your liabilities only $50,000, then your net worth would be $50,000. net worth. Now that we've talked about those financial terms, let's talk a little bit about planning. This is the dirty term about, but if you want to preserve your net worth or actually have a positive net worth, you might want to do something called financial planning. And that is an ongoing process of actually setting goals, setting objectives, assessing your resources, which you have coming in, assessing your liabilities, and setting financial goals in life. That's financial planning. And if you expect to have a positive net worth, you're going to need to do some financial planning. So that is your 5 minutes of personal finance. I hope you enjoyed it. And that was the first installment of Friday's 5 financial terms that you need to know. I love alliteration. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be back after this brief.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the tax benefits of different forms of financing, spot and fix errors in the 1099s, legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Start deducting today. Visit TaxMama.com. TaxMama.com. That's TaxMama with 1M.com.
Use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. Elites fear one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant. It's not always pleasant.
The best late night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy that works there too. And around the world to the best late night conservative talk. The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And that concludes another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I want to thank Beth Grossman, Republican candidate for District Attorney in Philadelphia, for joining me today. I want to thank everyone who's listening, everyone in the chat, everyone. If you are downloading this podcast, I want to thank you for doing so. I also want to, of course, thank the tax mama, Eva Rosenberg, and remind you to visit her website at taxmama.com. That's taxmama with 1M. And I also want to remind you to visit my other sponsor, come on, Melanie, my other sponsor, businessbuyeradvantage.com. I just want to make sure I say that completely right. David Barnett has some fantastic information for you on how to buy businesses. Fantastic advice on how to buy franchises if you'd like to do that as well. Make sure you visit his website, businessbuyeradvantage.com. I want to make sure you have a fantastic weekend. And remember, all of this is very important because it's your money.